First of all, thank you for being here. I know there are many events around the city which are competing for your attention and your participation, but I'm very happy to host you here together with the SeedBlink. Dear investors, startup founders, tech community, it's a pleasure to have you here, and we're excited to host you because the Recursive and SeedBlink actually share the same mission. We want to bridge the gaps in collaboration between the countries in Southeast Europe. We want to bring together the startup communities so that they have better prospects of connecting to their next top investors. Until recently, only a very small group of people had the privilege to invest in startup companies. And at the same time, in the long run, venture capital investment showed the highest return on investment. Investing in young companies is an effective way also to grow the local economy and support entrepreneurial spirit. But now, alternative methods allow even smaller investors to join forces and to take part in investment rounds. Democratizing the access of private investors and angels to local startup platforms bear the potential to bring our startup ecosystem on the next level. Examples include platforms that facilitate micro-investing, syndication of investment tickets, and even indirectly by investing on the Bulgarian Stock Exchange market. The agenda for tonight will start with a keynote by Andrei Dudoiu, who is the managing partner of SeedBlink. We will then have the panel discussion followed by a Q&A session, so I will encourage each of you to prepare your questions, to ask them at the end. And at the very end, we will also have the pleasure to network a bit together, to enjoy some drinks and also some nice catering organized by SeedBlink. I will now give the floor to Andrei. Come here and share about the vision of SeedBlink for Southeast Europe.
Thank you, Irina. Здравейте. Здравейте. Yeah. I had to take some notes. I have to be honest with you because Angel, our colleagues, tried to teach me how to also the pronunciation, but yeah, it seems it worked. So thank you, Irina. Thank you, the Recursive, for hosting us or to making this event happening today in Sofia. I've been traveling to Sofia along with Laurențiu, who is also here, our Chief Business Officer, in November, and we've met you guys, and we had some very interesting other meetings, business meetings here, and we decided to come officially to Bulgaria, and yeah, here we are, and I'm happy today to also everybody knows our colleague here, Angel. He's the country manager, he's managing director for Bulgaria, but part of you for sure have been invited directly by him. But here we have right now the local presence. We have also Georgi, who is our marketing department colleague. He's working not only for Bulgaria, he's working for the full project. And today from Romania, we are a team of three coming here. Our co-founder and CEO, Carmen, is here. Welcome. And as already mentioned, Laurențiu Genciu, he's the Chief Business Officer, he's also present. And a lot of colleagues from Romania, Milano, also wherever we have Greece, are attending online the event. We are now a team of 45 people, or 50, Carmen knows better this figure. And we are happy that only after 2 years and a half we have the strong roots in Balkans, but now we are having the big ambition to become the strongest pan-European platform to invest in venture tech startups. We have right now, in 2 years, we have succeeded to put our work together with VCs, business angels, and other institutions to finance or to get funding for more than 60 startups, actually 59, but we have a few rounds for several of them. and more than 70 million raised, out of which 40% is coming from our community. The community, that's important to announce that out of the 11,000 investors that we have in our community, the second largest community after Romania is already Bulgaria. So we have more than 200 investors from here. We were lucky that exactly when 1 week after our presence back in November, we were part of the round of Dronamics. Probably is quite popular here in Bulgaria, in the VC world and the business angels. And not only we were happy to see that they just got the European license for using their aircrafts across Europe. And now we are announcing, it's a breaking news for Bulgaria, Agrinizer will be on SeedBlink starting tomorrow. And Angel is organizing a pitch also tomorrow. We hope the Bulgarian investors to access a very interesting agri-tech early stage startup from with having roots here and with ambitions to scale it at the European level. So coming back to what we are doing, we started with this mission to democratize the access for the, let's say, daily investors to invest in a very promising tech startup ecosystem, which basically is not very common. You have to be a business angel, you have to be LP in a VC to have access to this kind of investments. And then we, step by step, we made a partnership, quite strong partnerships with the VC across Europe. In Bulgaria, we have we are proud to have also here on the panel. We'll meet one of our main partners. But in Central and Eastern Europe, we have a full network of partners VCs, and now we are scaling up. Actually, we hope that in 1 month maximum to announce an important transaction for us. Carmen, probably I'm not allowed to talk about it too much, but just to let you know that we'll make an acquisition in Western Europe for, let's say, a similar platform. We cannot disclose details until the due diligence is over and the contract duly signed. And we are also moving our part of operational model to Western Europe. In Vienna, we are building a trust. Of course, we are keeping our main hub in Romania and expanding very, let's say, dynamically in this part of Europe, in the Balkans, where we have already an important presence and reputation. So, coming back to Bulgaria, yesterday when we made a short trip in the center, it was a crowd there, and I thought first that they are welcoming us, but afterwards our colleagues told us that it's a different game there. But however, coming back to our presence here with the startups that we are in contact with, our very skillful team, I would say, that we hire here, and also with the partnership with the VCs, we are very bullish about what SeedBlink will mean for the community here. And I used to be a banker for 20 years, starting with 5 years ago almost. I decided to become entrepreneur. SeedBlink is built by actually the 4 co-founders. 2 are former bankers. Nobody's perfect. The other 2, one is Carmen present here, and Radu. They are former tech entrepreneurs or having a more than 20 years history in the tech world, also VC world. So I think we are complementary, and we are again bullish of what we can build locally. Having this slogan, I took it over from the banking board, if I remember correctly. Think globally and act locally. So that's what we intend to do also in Bulgaria with building up the community here of investors. And what we discovered, besides many other similarities, naming the traffic, naming the skill, the habits people have. We have been visiting yesterday a startup, and everybody was out for the lunch for more than 1 hour, and excepting the founder, of course. That we've met, and as well, and that's important to mention that in Bulgaria we have noticed that the skillful people in the tech area are quite many, and that explains the interest also of the investors for coming to Bulgaria. I have to admit that Romania is several years behind Bulgaria in terms of VC investments, because we're lucky here to have some strong VC partners starting. They are already at the second or third generation of funds. In Romania, we just have the first fund bringing the next level at the next level, or reaching the next level at the second generation. So we are quite optimistic about what could happen more in the startup world, and we are positioned as a partner for the ecosystem. We are not competing with anybody else. We are just trying to find ways to collaborate with the main actors of the ecosystem. So I think that's about SeedBlink. It's important to have our guests here for the panel. Irina is the host, and I have to remember another important word, благодаря.
Andrei, you can actually stay with me on the stage, because we're going to invite the whole panel and you will be part of it. By the way, I can assure you that the people there on the streets, they are welcoming prosperity and the growth of the innovative ecosystem. So maybe not exactly you, but in a way, anyone who is collaborating to that end. Have a seat with me, and without further ado, I would like to introduce you also to our next panelists, starting with the lady. That will be my seat. Stay here, yes. I'm sorry, because we have an order. So Gary Stoichkova, please welcome on the stage, is an investment associate at 11 Ventures, who were already mentioned today, where she is on the lookout for exciting startups in the healthcare space. Christo, I think you're in front of the cameras. I will continue with her intro. Previously, she co-founded the Bulgarian FinTech Association. Further, Gary is the program manager at the Visa Innovation Program. And last but not least, she is also a very active mentor at Innovator, helping shape the next generation of entrepreneurs in Bulgaria. Next to her is already Christo, who is currently the CEO of the private equity company HR Capital. Is it correct? Private equity, investment company. You will share more about HR Capital. He is a serial entrepreneur who was one of the people who kickstarted the digital media industry in Bulgaria. He is an angel investor in many Bulgarian startups and also partner at the VC fund 11 Ventures. He is also an active startup mentor and one of the board members of the entrepreneurial network Endeavor. Last but not least is Angel, who is been already shortly introduced by Andrei. He's the managing director of SeedBlink Bulgaria. He has more than 15 years of experience in the financial advisory, business development, M&A experience across a wide range of industries in Europe, with the focus on corporate finance and financial services sector. So, finance guy. I'm going to... if we don't have enough seats, I'm going to ask my colleagues maybe to pull some more chairs for the people who... There are also some seats in the front, so come here. We won't bite. We won't puke. Come here and join us. I'm going to start with my first question, which is to Christo, who is actually has been around for quite many years. He also knows quite well, I think, the angel investment community, and I would like maybe to start with a throwback or maybe an overview of how the investment community, angel investment community here has evolved over the years, and Where is it going now?
Thanks for the great event, and thanks for having us here on the panel. I think it's wonderful to share the experiences that we've all been through, and to somehow give that know-how to the broader audience, which is, in my opinion, the democratizing investments case. In terms of angel investing, when I was starting my business, there wasn't much around, so it was a new topic back in 2005. So angel investing, I think, sort of started when the first exits happened around 2008, 2010, and this is when the founders of NetInfo sold the business. Also, some other companies were sold, and when they made money out of the tech ecosystem, they started investing again in new projects and the local ecosystem. But back then it was very, very local, very specific, and very niche and closed circle. While today what I see is the industry evolving super rapidly, and now it has become cross-border. So congratulations to what you guys are doing, but it has truly become cross-border. For example, I have a friend in Endeavor. He's building a company in Silicon Valley. He's out of Vietnam. We're meeting next month with him at Athens at the Worldwide Gathering, and we're an investor in his company, which is like 2010. It would be close to impossible for this to happen. So it's matured. It's become super integrated. So the local ecosystems now, like Romania, Greece, Bulgaria, it's much more one ecosystem. This is what we like to see: one pipeline, one ecosystem, one talent pool where you can come from Romania after exiting UiPath and build a company here, or come back from the UK or from Germany or from the US and build a company here and get funding from the UK. So now it's like a very big mishmash, this very nice Bulgarian word, and I hope we weather through it in the down cycle that is about to happen.
I think mishmash is, in a way, also a Balkan word used by all the communities. Maybe there is also a mishmash in Romanian.
But Givec?
Givec? Okay, that's a different thing.
Givec is also nice.
But this is what happens when Balkan people come together. They start talking about food.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It actually confirms also my observations, although they're much more sporadical. I see people from Athens investing in Bucharest now, asking me about interesting companies in Bulgaria. So it's truly becoming more and more a mishmash. Angel, what are the main challenges for angel investors right now to participate in tech companies, and what have you seen, like, individual investors search or are looking at when they are picking, the right spots to invest? What do you observe, especially in the community of SeedBlink now?
I think the answer to that question actually is inbuilt in the question. Finding them, essentially, and taking part of this opportunity is not very easy unless you're an LP, for instance, in a VC world, and give you a 100K ticket. That will be an alternative. Alternatively, you go to investment communities such as ours and then try to participate in that asset class.
What are the minimum tickets actually for investors, for LPs, to join a VC fund? I think this is not something that each of us knows, because we don't really make that much money.
You won't see it written down anywhere, but that's like a generally accepted minimum ticket. In order to be an LP in a VC, you have to prepare 100K, I'm talking euros here, to put up front, essentially, and the VC will invest instead of you. So alternatively, what we have as a platform essentially is giving you the opportunity to make those decisions yourselves based on the fact that we've done pre-vetting for you, based on the fact that we've taken care to actually funnel that information for you and you make that informed decision. So I think the question was, how do you select? It takes time. It takes a lot of effort. And if you're not versed into it, you may not be able to make an informed decision.
So first of all, you say it's building the pipeline as an angel investor from the perspective of the angel investors, and secondly, this access to the VC funds is actually pretty high. So 100K, maybe 50K in some of the funds from what I heard.
If you're lucky, yeah.
If you're lucky. Gary, 11 is actually co-investing in startups together with angels. How do you usually find the right partner? When is it a good fit between a VC and an angel? Is it something that VCs like to have on the cap table, angel investors?
It highly depends on the case. So if we speak specifically about angels, quite commonly they actually come from the founders. So those are usually people from the sector that they know, they bring some expertise and knowledge, and for those people we are very happy to welcome them on board because they can actually help the company with the development, also with contacts, with strategy. What we try to be very careful about is to engage with investors that are harmful to the company. And what this means is investors that bring bad culture to the company, like toxic culture, or investors that are trying to be too hands-on, meaning they're trying to overcome the company and do the operating work. And this is not their job, so this is not our job as well. Our job is to support the founders, to be their back, to guide them, but not to run the business.
Participating through the platform of SeedBlink, I guess there will be also angel investors, although you're syndicating also rounds which are with VCs, micro investors maybe in rare cases, but also angel investors. So how do you tackle that issue that there might be angel investors who are hands-on, who want to participate? Is it an expectation that SeedBlink investors have?
Not really. I haven't noticed so far in all the rounds that we had, because we are consolidating all the investors in just one. So we have a single line in the cap table of the startup. No one of the syndication can take over. Of course, we can handle that. There are could be some investors that are more, let's say, trying to have a stronger link with the founder. That's good if they are helpful. Now we just launched our community, digital community builder circle, SeedBlink circle, that is meant to bring together in a better way the knowledge of the investors to the founder, and the other way around, the founder to communicate in a more active way, in a simple way, more simple way with his investors or her investors. So we are trying to also in this respect to build teams. And once you collaborate, all the parties have to, not the ones outside, all the team members are having added value from that. So exceptions could happen, but we are there as a platform to filter also the investors, not only the startups.
It's an interesting aspect that you're saying. I was just starting thinking about kind of like a new product, like advisory board as a service somehow, or a platform for advisory boards. I think many of us might be in need of something like that.
That's the case, because at least half of the investors, part of a round that are coming through SeedBlink to invest in a startup, they have knowledge in that specific vertical, and they want to bring in their knowledge. Or some of them, we have startups or founders that just on the circle ask, who has a connection or at least give me an entrance ticket to a certain big corporation I want to sell my product to. So someone of their pool of investor could have or a friend of a friend could make this connection. It's more than an advisor. It's a not only advices but also practical things that the community of investors could help them with. Our role as a platform is to scale or to try to have the right tools in order to make it more efficient for both for the founders and for the investors.
Christo, you actually applied a different method of syndicating investors, totally different. I know about it, but I would still like you to share of how you structured HR Capital, and maybe you can also tell me how to describe it. I call it usually an investment company, but it's a unique kind of structure. That's my first question, and then my second question would be: what are the expectations of your shareholders towards the startup companies where you're investing? But yeah.
So HR Capital, I would say, is a family office which is publicly listed.
Okay.
Which can happen only in Europe, because in the States, when you say it's a public company, people like imagine Nasdaq and stuff like that. So only in Europe and the UK also they have aims. There is like a smaller segment on the stock exchange which can accommodate technology companies or smaller investment companies, and we have quite some here in Bulgaria. I don't know if it's happened in Romania or in Greece, but the stock market here has picked up over the last year in the beam segment, which is very favorable from a regulatory perspective. And the way we did it is in HR Capital we already had like around 10-12 positions in 11 ventures and Endeavor Catalyst, so investments in funds from one hand, but on the other hand investments in companies directly. And what we didn't like back at the time was exactly what you guys described, which is that we're in a super privileged role to be able to write a ticket of 250 euro to enter a fund, and then we're super happy about the success of the fund because both funds are super successful, or the companies themselves, but somehow this success is only limited to a very small group of people. Well, when we gather, I think 11 Ventures has one of the biggest, if not the biggest, group of LPs. So when we gather, we gather in this room.
It fits in this room.
So
okay.
it's exactly that amount of people that we have here. It's around 60 people. And this is probably by far the biggest. Maybe it's 2 times bigger than the second. I don't know. I'm not so into the because now there is like 18 funds or something like that in the market. But it also goes the same for Romania. So it's not only the Bulgarian market. It's like very big from a Southeast European perspective.
Do you have a number for the Romanian market? How many LPs are investing in the VCs? Maybe like in total?
No, I don't have a certain number. I could try to make a guess. Probably we have right now roughly 6 funds, active funds, and probably it's in the range of less than 200 people.
Less than 200.
Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting you, Christopher.
Yeah, it's valid point. So 200 people for 3 times the market of Bulgaria. It's like, so it's like super limited, super segmented, super exclusive, no access, and we said let's give the access to anyone who has like €2 and can buy the stock. So that was our thinking, and in doing so we wanted to promote the technological ecosystem, the startups, and shed more light on the investments of the company that it is making. So to answer your second question, yesterday we had all hands meeting in HR, and there was 30 people all of the time for an hour and a half asking questions about the portfolio companies. So it was like what is the greatest threat of for eBack? Like, what if Kaufland enters online groceries and stuff like that? So you could very easily see that you know, there is to a new entry in the startup ecosystem, like the knowledge is very low, and to someone more experienced, it's a very huge gap. So they become more interested and more interested and more interested. So I think this is a positive example.
So their future to be angel investors and LPs in startups, so to say.
Well,
Yeah.
if we do a good job, yes. If we do a poor job, then
True.
they're going to ban this industry
But
of
knowing your
scammers.
portfolio, I think you're gonna do a good job.
Yeah,
Okay.
portfolio is one thing, but market dynamics is another. So it's now we see it very clearly where you have numbers of companies going up, like sales, profitability, etc., but market conditions deteriorating. So you have a disconnect now between business and evaluations. It's
True. But interesting way of democratizing. I can actually, share the example of my co-founder who wanted to invest in HR Capital. So it's obviously very, open to
story.
all sorts of people. In any case, how many shareholders do you have right now? And maybe
600.
600. And how many of them are a first-time investor in the tech space?
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting question. A lot of them are first-time investors in stocks.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Wow.
It's like from the IPOs last year on the stock exchange, there have been like thousands of new investors arriving on the stock market itself. And then as a second step to the technology sector and innovation sector. So it's totally different than from what we're seeing at 11 or WaunchHub or whatever, where it's absolutely the same group of people in all of the events. Tomorrow at the Endeavor event it will be the same. So it's very refreshing to see new people come aboard.
Certain dynamics,
Yeah.
yes. Andrei, Angel, so you mentioned that in the intro, in the keynote, and I'm actually very impressed. I'm going to repeat the numbers. So in less than 2 years or 3 years, 2.5 years, you brought together 11,000 investors, and you're co-investing in how many projects at this point?
60 projects.
60 projects.
And the amount raised in total is exceeding 70 million euro for the 60 companies. And out of which roughly 40% is coming from this community of investors of SeedBlink. The difference is the amount raised by or put in the round by our partners.
When you say partners, so
This is
exactly who are
this
the
is other
people?
network of business angels, other platforms. We had collaboration also with platform as ours in different countries. We have also a couple of corporations that put money in certain rounds. So we are open for any collaboration that is making sense for the startup and of course for the investors.
So you're allowing the access to invest in the projects that you're supporting for private individuals who want to invest, business angels, corporations, but also VCs, and through your crowd investing partners, also like micro investors or.
So in a deal, we normally are seeking a deal where we have a team. Laurentiu is managing this team of 5 scouters, 5 colleagues that are filtering the deals, or they are running for deals across Europe, and then we are preferably co-investing along with a VC partner or an institutional investor that is already vetting that company, that startup, or that founder. Of course, we are coming with our knowledge, our network in Europe we have already, and the community that we have. The profile is typically we have business leaders, we have entrepreneurs, we have tech guys that that could be entrepreneurs or not. They are somehow familiar with this ecosystem or with the products in the companies are building. We have executives from different corporations. The guys that are not having they are having money to invest in the ecosystem. Some of them could be also LPs in different VCs, but they are also willing to invest by themselves or to choose a company to invest in. But normally they are coming at SeedBlink because we offer one-stop shop solution. Everything is digital. They don't have to sign any papers, only digital work they have to do. On the other side, we are vetting, we are filtering everything. We are negotiating the term sheet on their behalf. So everything, they don't spend any time in making all this infrastructure or building this infrastructure or to have access to different startups. They are just choosing the startups and looking to the information we are providing, the very important critical information that we are considering in order to make an educated decision to invest in a certain startup.
Okay. Actually, I think it will be better understood if we share a bit more about the Dronamics case. Actually, it was one of the most successful campaigns around so far that's been done on the SeedBlink campaign. It's also a deal which was led by 11 Ventures. I'm going to actually start with Gary, where maybe she can share of how it all started and how it all developed. So I would like to know from your perspective, why did it actually make sense for Dronamics at this point to be listed at SeedBlink and then later on the Beam market?
Yeah. So Dronamics, they're a very interesting case because so we joke at 11 that they managed to build a big cult around the product. They started the company back in 2014 or 13, something like that, and ever since they managed to attract so many evangelists around them and so many people that believe in the product, and they're so excited and they're following every single event and every single news that comes out about the company. So in their case, they're building up extremely innovative product, something that everyone can imagine. So the first cargo drone, it even sounds amazing. So it's easy for people to somehow relate and to somehow even hope that Bulgaria or our region is going to produce the next very innovative technology worldwide. So I think in their case it made a lot of sense to go to those people and actually allow access to the company, because many of their investors, they want to join the company before. I have friends who have asked me, hey, how is it possible to invest in Dronamics? And there was just no mechanism to join the company and to be part of this journey. So platforms like SeedBlink, they're an amazing way to allow exactly those small investors that are really, really passionate about the product to join it and be part of the journey. And similar for B market.
So they somehow managed to leverage this call and all the fascination that we were having about the product that they're doing. And next to the SeedBlink round, they also did an IPO on the Beam market, right?
Yeah, exactly. There it worked in a similar way. So the Beam market, it started, I think, a year before they joined. So it was still quite a recent one. But Dronamics, they were a great case in which I think they helped popularize also the B market in Bulgaria, because they were a company that many people knew, and they drew a lot of attention towards the market as well. And it's not really difficult to invest in this market. It's open to everyone, signing up there, it's easier, so a lot of benefits come from this.
Mm-hmm. What did you recommend, like a company like Dronamics to do when they were doing? You mentioned that I'm now confused because you mentioned that companies which are listed on SeedBlink, you don't do campaigns for them anymore. How do I call it? So, yes.
The explanation would be that we are not too much retail oriented, meaning investors as there are platforms in UK, as Seeders, a Crowdcube. We are different. We are playing a different game. We are for more educated people that are having the knowledge on this ecosystem. They could help directly the startup. And we are positioned as a venture co-investing platform in tech startups. That's why we are using more or only the round word instead of campaign, which is more retail oriented.
So practically, what happened is that Dronamics listed on the beam. 11 Ventures invested. I think there were also other VC funds which invested in this round. And then on a separate note, there was an SPV which was created by the investors on SeedBlink, which also invested in SeedBlink. How big was the round?
The total round
15 million, and they raised 950, if I'm not mistaken, through us.
1 million, yeah.
Wow. Okay. I think there will be questions about this case, but let me continue, because we mentioned in the beginning something which I also find very interesting. So right now we are observing more and more cross-border investments, and they're going beyond our domestic markets. Why is that? Why do we see that actually happening, and what's the reason behind the fact that so many investors focus on, actually the angel investors focus on the local markets, they syndicate together, focusing on, let's say, Bulgarian or Romanian startups. I don't think that there is a syndication in Greece yet, and then all of a sudden, in the past year or maybe 2 years, they started going internationally. What happened?
The question is for me.
I think to maybe all of you, but I would actually start with you or with Angel.
Cool. I mean, I've got the rapper's mic, so I might as well start. You go with what you know, essentially. Everyone in LinkedIn in this audience is within 1 degree of knowing somebody else. So it's very easy to reach out, to pick up the phone and say, hey, what do you think about this opportunity? Any rational investor, I would say, once he or she builds that knowledge and confidence, should be going for returns, essentially. And those returns can come from anywhere. So it can be Bulgaria, it can be Romania, it can be Greece, it doesn't matter. If you really believe in the vertical, if you really know your vertical and where the returns might be, then that should be your prime objective, to try and understand where is the opportunity, not the geography per se.
But it wasn't like that. I mean, we remember even the CEO Angels Club before, and the tech angels in Romania, they were focusing on in Romania. Now this is changing. Christo, why do you think is that changing? Is it the pandemics? Is it global entrepreneurship that we've been seeing?
Yeah, but pandemic probably helped, because we saw it on a global level at Endeavor, that it basically wiped out the geographic boundaries. So it was unthinkable to raise money from the States without being in the States. Now we saw this happening all over, and we call it the democratizing of capital. It's now much more global game. So definitely it changed. A lot of the deals in 11 were done by Zoom. It's like this was unthinkable before. Also, what I think changed a lot is that some part of the, not a very small part of the funds in our ecosystem started investing in different geographies. So the focus became much more Romania or Turkey or Greece. It became Southeast Europe or Central Eastern Europe or Europe or whatever. So what this created is a positive loop where investors invest in a company out of the Netherlands. They do an exit. Then they are recommended as a good investor to someone else in the ecosystem, or to someone in the UK. Then they bring additional pipeline, and it's a sustaining loop where you get actually capital flowing outside, and it is to some extent driven by the scarcity of capital we have in our ecosystem, because especially now with earlier stage is getting much more crowded, so there is super big amount of capital for early stage, while growth and scale are still very low funded, and now especially in the current times it will be even harder. So in order for the startups and entrepreneurs to find that capital, they need to go much further abroad, like Western Europe, US, and this also meant that the US or West Europe is building now bridges with Southeast Europe, because they're working with the VCs that initially invested, with the platforms that initially invested, with the angels. So it's creating this bridge now, and it's becoming much more international game.
So, yes, please, yeah.
So one of them is, I think for a new fund it makes a lot of sense to start locally, because in this way the new fund can build the expertise and try in an easier way. So as Angel was saying, we are all connected here. Bulgaria is a 7 million country anyway, so it's very easy to do the due diligence and the background check on companies, and be somehow more confident in the investments that you make. So with the growing ecosystem, having second or third fund, of course it makes sense to start going in other countries and co-invest with local investors that know the companies there better. But as a trial, starting locally makes a lot of sense. And the other thing is, each one of our markets, there are small markets in themselves. So they're developing, they're growing, but they're still small. So if you want to have wide and like varied pipeline, you need to look outside. In our case at 11, our case is even more specific, because we don't invest in everything, but we invest only in 4 verticals. So if we limit ourselves only to Bulgaria, this will extremely limit our pipeline. So we have to look outside as well.
I see. How is this process of due diligence and knowing your market actually done on the SeedBlink platform? Because the more you grow, the more expertise you will need on each of these markets where you're present, right?
Or you gain expertise.
Or you gain expertise, yes, of course.
To the former question, I would add that it was a matter of educating, in our case. It was our purpose to educate our portfolio or our community of investors to have a spread. Not only in terms of geography, but it was coming natural, but also in terms of verticals, in terms of maturity of the startups. So geography spread, dispersion was natural movement. That's why SeedBlink was starting scouting startups from across Europe, starting with Balkans and then going to other countries as well. So as an investor and as VCs were mentioning, you cannot gain just from one investment. You have to be very, very lucky just to make your return from one single investment. That's why our education, or our purpose to educate in a good manner the community of investors was to build portfolio. And we have our proprietary technology for helping them do that in a smooth way. So they build their own thesis. They choose from there what are the verticals they want to invest in, the geographies, and the technology or my portfolio product show them where they have the gaps and where to invest more or where to refrain to invest more. So it's a matter of educating investors. I
was curious also to hear maybe that, I'm sorry, I'm going to keep that point on educating the market, because you managed to convince investors who were, first of all, first-time investors on the stock exchange. Most of them also first-time investors probably in tech companies. They would usually, I don't know, before that would buy some commodities or real estate. So what is the best argument for an investor who has traditionally invested in real estate? Doni, I can hear you. I'm going to ask you, because we're going to have a networking session. Maybe we can do that afterwards, or maybe you can go out because we can hear you in the front. Thank you. So my question would be, what is the best argument to convince someone who has traditionally been buying, I don't know, land and houses and apartments, and maybe some of them abroad, now to invest in startup companies?
It's a very good question. I don't think we did a very good job. For us, it was easy because we were at the back of Dronamics IPO. Impetus had raised money before, Bio did as well. So it's not like we did anything. We actually announced it on Monday, and the IPO was on next Wednesday. So we had less than 10 days. But I guess the main point was, and it's very market specific. I don't know if it's the same for Romania or for Greece, but if you're, let's say, if you have 10,000 euro to invest in Bulgaria, you don't have anything else to do than to put it in a bank account, buy crypto or buy real estate. And so because the
right now.
No, it's a good option, I think. So the stock market here didn't evolve beyond 2008, which is not the same when it comes to Western Europe or even Central Europe or the States. So for an investor, there is not a lot to do with their money, which is why we kept seeing deposits rise. Which is even when the interest was negative. So it's a very strange. So it wasn't a very hard sell because there is not a big opportunity to invest in anything else. And together, coupled with inflation rising, even it wasn't like it is today, but still it was getting higher. It is a very natural way to preserve your wealth. It's a very natural way to tuck into the growing tech ecosystem. It's super easy once you have 11 companies like Payhawk in the portfolio, where and you have the news of them becoming unicorn and stuff like that. So it's not a very hard sell, I would say.
So it's the good news about the ecosystem that made your sell.
Yes, I would say it's a macro factors.
It's a macro factor.
Yeah.
Okay. Andrei, so on your platform, I would expect that there will be also a lot of people who are somehow already participating in the tech ecosystem. But for those who are not, how do you sell them an investment through the SeedBlink platform? How do you convince them? How do you educate them about the opportunities which are here?
Yeah, I would be inclined to say more it's about educating them and not to convince them, because if you try to push people to invest, then you will not get the right long-term return. So he has to be, or she has to be educated and convinced that's a good investment for her money or for his portfolio. And we have different approaches. We already benefiting of 11,000 community of investors that of course they are bringing their network once they see some new opportunities. So it's a matter of bringing to them very good quality stuff to invest in, and we had the same journey. In Romania, when we started, there was no opportunity to invest in startups, tech startups especially. So most of our community is coming from the investors in stock exchange, real estate, classical ways to invest your money. And step by step, now we have an investor, unofficially I can say it has invested through us for having an amount, a portfolio for more than 400,000 euro. But spread, it was also about education. Everyone is starting...
An individual
individual investors.
Okay.
Yeah, because we are not counting in our community the institutional investors. They are a part of what I'm mentioning. Okay. So the co-investors, the VCs, the institutional investors, they are not part of what we are counting that as added value coming from SeedBlink. And it was a journey. He started with the minimum ticket, and then step by step, and he invested, and he understood that it's a matter of spreading his money, not putting 200K in just one single company. He has chosen to spread, to have this kind of broad dispersion across a portfolio. So coming back to your question, it's about how you, as any other company, how good quality product or stuff you can offer to your clients. Our clients are both investors and startups, but it's a sort of marketplace. You have to offer good quality startups in order to bring in interested investors.
So we see a very positive trend from investors who were traditionally investing in other ways, in other commodities and assets, now being interested in the tech sector and in venture capital. What we also see is more and more tech founders who are exiting, who are coming to the place where they're also ready to invest. So overall, actually a very good trend for the whole ecosystem. I would like to turn now the perspective to the founders, because you mentioned them. You need good founders. What does it take for a startup company or for the founders to have a successful round on SeedBlink?
There are many ingredients. I'll try to mention at least three, and to figure out what happened with the most successful rounds. The team is key, and I think it's the most important factor when also VCs are choosing, or any other investors, family offices or angels are choosing to invest in a certain company.
Although they're doing it in such an indirect way, they're still looking at the team.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
Very
team,
interesting.
you can assess it, the team as a whole, but also the interaction within the team and how complementary they are, what there is track record in their business, but also in terms of reputation and other quality factors that you are assessing. And of course, how they are convincing, in our case, is probably even more important, because they are talking to many investors, how they could convince within a pitch, how passionate they are about their product or services they are offering, about their company, about their startup. So you have to feel that passion in order to be closer to the energy of the startup. Mm-hmm. Second, I would say how disruptive is their product, what they are offering, how innovative it is. Because if it's a mainstream and you are just making a copycat of a product that's already existing, then okay, you could be successful in this part of Europe, but that's not something that is creating change in the world. So the ones that are more innovative, of course, they are the most innovative ones. They are not. You are not meeting them every day.
What is the least innovative product, on the SeedBlink platform that run a successful campaign? Because we cannot all be like Dronamics.
Yeah,
I mean, it's. But
this is not the only thing. If it compensates with a very good team that is convincing the investor that could perform and that can execute their plan, we just had a very successful round. Also, I think Pop Market is 11 is also there as a co-investor. They are not really a tech company. They are offering. They have a tech product as well, but they are offering grocery as a service, if I could say that. And the team was the product is already in Western Europe is quite popular. There are some big players there, but they are trying to build this network in the Balkans first, and then to CEE. And the team was convincing the investors they are able to execute. And the third factor that I would mention is indeed how scalable is the product, how easy is the go-to-market approach in other geographies, not only in the home market where you are starting. So to convince that you have at least a plan and expertise, or to know how to gain that expertise in order to scale it up. Because if you are talking about tech sector, that's the main reason the investors are coming to this sector. It's about going international. Otherwise, real estate is local. Other classical businesses, industries are local. Here, of course, there are a lot of risk if we are talking about startups. But if you are having in your portfolio some names that from Bulgaria, you have at least 2 or 3 that are close to being a unicorn, probably, hopefully, or Payhawk is already there, yeah? Yeah.
I think we're expecting the next one soon, before the year, or it should be somewhere in your portfolio, guys.
I don't know anymore.
Okay, everyone is playing, as if they don't know anything. Before it gets too late, because I heard that some of the people would like actually to join the next event on the main square. I will open the Q&A session. Exactly. I would like now to open the Q&A session. It's also, by the way, open for the people who are watching us online. So you can ask them on Facebook, and I think we are streaming also on YouTube, right? Facebook. So you can ask your questions also in the comments on Facebook. And for everyone else, Angel, I'm going to maybe use your micro, and I'm going to ask one of my colleagues maybe to help me out here. Okay, we have another one. So keep yours. Very good. Ellie, maybe you can help me out. And I know that in the beginning everyone is super ashamed to raise a question, and then at the end everyone comes. So yeah, let's start here. Let's start with the end. Ellie? Yes, you're seeing. Thank you. Very good.
Let me just see if it's...
yes. Here. Yes. He's the first one. Yes.
Sorry.
Thank you. Maybe you can also introduce yourself very shortly and say the name of the company
everyone.
or
My
institution.
name is Konstantin. I'm a founder of agri-tech startup. Hopefully you'll see us on the main stage soon. I wanted to ask, is there any new, or are there any new interesting industries where VCs and investors are looking into, except for the standard electric scooters, online food sales, or fintech, or blockchain?
Can I take this one?
Yes, please.
At the beginning of the event, actually, my colleague Andrei just announced that we tomorrow are launching one of our agri-tech opportunities. So that's something that we expect to be hot in our investor base. So it's not just fintech, insurtech, or whatever you want to call it. You can call it agri-tech for that matter, but our platform looks at tech. So that's our vertical, that's our know-how. But agri-tech is one of them.
And your investors at SeedBlink, are they showing like specific interest in some of the verticals? Do they share something in this direction?
If you make the semantics of our top 100 investors, for instance, it wouldn't be a surprise to see that enterprise software as a service comes first. That's where you would expect highest returns. So I think you will share that with me as well. Even if you ask your LPs, that's where the returns are.
Christo, it will be shared also to hear your perspective.
Share it even
yes,
better.
Please.
Yeah, well, another industry that we're observing, and it's growing, especially in Europe, is ESG and impact investing. We as 11, we are not there yet, but what we see is, first of all, a growth in number of companies that are starting to develop something that addresses like green policies or ESG issues. But also we see more and more funds creating even separate funds focused only on ESG investments. So this, that's a big one. We expect it to be a big one.
knowing what Konstantin is doing, you're in the right sector.
No, but actually, to emphasize, agri-food tech, it's one of the verticals in 11. So it's growing like crazy. So it's like a very
I think the whole future
already
of food topic is growing like crazy.
It's not like a future thing. It's happening now in big time.
Yeah, so we invest in future of food, future of work, and fintech and healthcare. So our assumption is that those are the 4 verticals that are growing the most. But yeah, separate from that, I had to mention the ESG as well.
Thank you so much.
I will make a comparison with 2 years before, when the pandemic started. It was very trendy to invest in health tech and digitization, whatever solution is for helping companies to automate processes. Now it becomes trendy to see companies from food industry, food tech, and also energy tech, which could be or not related to sustainability, but I think would be the trend. In this part of Europe, we are not feeling it so, let's say, strong, but it will come. In Western Europe, for sure, it's critical.
Thank you.
Hello. So, yeah, my name is Victor. I'm a machine learning company founder. We're doing products for researchers. But what was interesting for me, and that's a question to SeedBlink, is so you said that in your ecosystem you need to have good quality startups. And so can you tell us a little bit more about how do you ensure that you have these good quality startups? Do you hunt them, or and maybe what is your process for kind of vetting them in a way?
It's a great question, yes.
It was addressed before, and I was missing the answer. So Angel will help.
Yes.
Yeah.
Similar to VCs, we do have people that scout for interesting opportunities that fit our investment thesis, Victor. So essentially, we make a lot of effort to get to know our investment guys, people that will actually invest in those opportunities. And something we were joking just before the event, we have a practice which is called kill the deal, essentially. You want to kill the deal, not go ahead and give various reasons why you should not invest in it. And if you pass that, go ahead and defend that in front of the board. So yeah, there's a lot of effort done, just like VCs, to make sense of the opportunity that you will defend further on. If you don't believe in it, there's no point of defending it in front of your investment community.
So we have in total 4 steps, 4 filters at least. One is the scouters, then we have the due diligence made by our colleagues in the legal and operational departments. Then is the team on the investment side that is filtering, and then the board, which is ultimately killing the deal.
So it's a step of the process. The serial killers. I have an aspect which I would like to... Are actually VCs using your process to filter and to fill their pipeline as well?
No, we work in parallel, so probably we are... No, so far no, but we are building right now aiming to build a very strong due diligence department, and we can also outsource a part of their work to other institutions.
Okay, thank you. This is the row with the questions. Let's start with the lady, and then we can continue with the gentleman.
Hi there, I'm Mary Ivanova, and I'm from Capital. I'm here to ask several questions about the teams that you have. I noticed that you opened an office in Greece as well as Bulgaria. How big are the sizes? What are the sizes of the teams? What are you planning on doing? You said that the hub will still continue to be in Romania. So what is the Bulgarian team going to be doing? And what is the Greek team going to be doing? And also, if you have a Bulgarian team, does that mean that you're looking to fund more startups in Bulgaria? Is that a specific place that you're looking for?
Very journalistic question. Who would like to take it? Thank you. Thanks to the colleagues from Capital. Yes.
I can talk about the approach at the European level, and maybe Angel, if you want to say some words about the Bulgarian approach. As I said, we want to think global and act local. That's important for us because the flavors are on the ground, and you can see or find out details only if you are having a strong presence in the countries you want to invest in. That's why in the countries we don't have a local footprint at this moment. We are relying more on the partnership we built on with the VCs. The team, as Carmen confirmed, has 45 people right now. Most of them are in the hub in Romania, but they are working for our international network as well. In Bulgaria, we have a team of 2. We just started 2 months ago, 3. And in Greece, we just launched it last week, and we have just the country director that we are going to visit him tomorrow. And as I mentioned, we are aiming to make an M&A transaction in Western Europe soon. That will be announced soon. And we are building also an operational trust in Austria. So right now this is the international presence, but we have 2 of the scouters are also based abroad. One is in Italy and the other is in Switzerland. They have links with Romania, but they are having their offices in that countries. In the Switzerland probably is the most expensive office that we have, but he's staying at home. And I'm not sure if I answered to all the question for the Bulgarian approach. Angel is better.
Bulgarian approach. So essentially, as Andrei was saying earlier on, you can't have one without the other. You must build a pipeline of investors only if you show them something interesting to invest in. And sooner rather than later, we are thinking of having somebody to support that, somebody to speak the local language, to go with people, meet people, and be without a suit. You know, I'm terribly overdressed here.
Financial guy. So
I think Angel just had a chat with Laurențiu about hiring a new people to be added to the Bulgarian team. So once we have success, for sure we'll have more.
So you're searching for startups. You're probably going to have more Bulgarian startups also listed in the SeedBlink campaign. You're also searching for investors, and you're searching for team members, obviously. Okay, quite an operation.
Laurențiu has a note.
I'd just like to add one thing, which is I think is very important for us, and I think it's part of the success we had in the past 6 months. I think the partnership we had with the VCs is critical for us, and I wouldn't discount that at all, because actually part of the value that we offer to the investors is access to VC-backed deals, and that's what excites them, right? That's the type of deal that people don't really get access to.
So it's the co-investment, deals which are already been validated by VCs.
Exactly.
Okay,
I mean, like having someone like Levin putting their stamp on a startup, it's already a good sign, right? So we're looking to help VCs as well and co-invest and help their startups as well. Sometimes with deal structuring, sometimes with business development, in many areas like that.
Thank you, Laurențiu. That was actually a good addition. I'm going to say that we will have 2 more questions from the audience, and we can go then to face-to-face conversations. And we have a lot of beer that we still need to drink.
Kamenica.
So, Eli, okay, thank you.
My name is Nikola Yornov. My question is regarding SeedBlink. I've seen quite a few companies like yours in the US and just a couple in Europe. And I've always been curious, but one major problem I see often with these firms is their valuations of the startups in the platforms. So how do you approach the valuations? Do you back them in some way? So do you personally invest to basically guarantee to your users that this startup is actually worth 800 million and not 100?
It's the tricky question with valuations.
Yeah, but not tricky for us because part of the answer or the addition that Laurențiu came up with is the co-investing. So in 90% or more, 95% of the deals we are making, there is a lead investor in the shoes of a VC, and they have all the interest to negotiate the very good terms for their approach or what they see as a potential for that startup, and we are following the same term sheet for our investors. So we exited some deals before making them because the founders were not accepting the copy-paste conditions for our investors. So that's not negotiable for us. In the same round we have to have the same conditions as the lead investor. And the other part of the question, the valuation is a matter of negotiation, and yeah, now if it's a skin in the game from our side, according to the regulation, we are not able to invest as a platform right now. But however, we are. This is a work in progress to define exactly in what kind of VCs. What kind of VC we should have alongside SeedBlink as a co-invest as well as a co-investor institutional venture institution. So not competing with the other VCs that we are partnering up with, but to have our skin in the game as we want to have. So a VC attached to our ecosystem, managed by us, but we have to define what's the better structure we can accommodate according to the legislation.
Thank you. We have the time for one last question. Yes.
Hello, can
Please.
you hear me well? My name is Kalin and I'm part of the first Bulgarian streaming platform. I have one last question with two sub-questions. Let's just put it this way. When we talk about raising capital, what do VCs value high in terms of human capital, company goodwill, and we all know the trendy green tech, etc. But what might be appealing to a VC, especially if you're new to the ecosystem and your product might be a pioneer in a sense? And something else that I want to ask you, when we're talking about Bulgarian startups, do we talk about the Bulgarian market or not?
I will start with this one maybe.
Yes.
Okay, on the first one, so next to everything that Andrei already mentioned on what they look for in companies, one big thing that we as VCs look for is a big problem and a big market. So even if it is a very pioneering problem, like product, we would try to evaluate the market and see if it is a big enough market, so a global one. This is also part of your second question, if I got it right. So when we speak about Bulgarian startups, or I would assume also Romanian startups or Greek startups, we never speak about Bulgarian startups that want to focus on the Bulgarian market. So we as VCs, we always prefer to invest in companies that want to go global or at least international and tackle more markets. So like number one, big market, and then also what Andrei was saying, the possibility to take from this market and to scale the company and be big there.
Okay. That was a good answer to your question.
That's a good point, actually. So I cannot give you an exact number, but usually if it's about, for example, a consumer product focused on the Bulgarian market, it's too limited. If it is a consumer product that has the potential to be Facebook, great, but difficult to build this one. So it depends. Usually if we see a market, if I have to give you a number, if we see a market defined in the millions as a very high border, it's already a little bit too narrow for us, because this means that the highest potential that the company can reach, like in the best possible case where they own 100% of the market, is in the millions.
If you allow me to add on to that, so goodwill, as accountants will say, only is formed through transaction. So there are IFRS standards which you follow. So if you're talking about the IP that sits behind the company, essentially, if you want to evaluate that, I think it's a combination of the three that you listed. And it's not only the goodwill that you have currently, but the potential, like she's saying, the potential that IP can evolve, essentially, and build that asset base on your balance sheet, your goodwill tomorrow. That's the maximum that we're aiming for. I mean, if you show me a J curve, you becoming the next Facebook tomorrow, I would tackle your assumptions. I would not want to see you becoming the next Facebook in 3 years. I want to see your assumptions which challenge your own thinking. That's the key for me.
And just one more point to add. If you want to show this to your investors, even if you're a very early stage, try to find different ways to actually showcase some traction, some progress. So I'll give you an example. If you started your company in 2013 and you're still in the development phase, this is not a good sign for us. We want to see that the team is able to grow quickly and move fast, even if there are changes or pivots or like different things. We want to see that the team is able to move fast and grasp different opportunities. So any sort of traction, depending on the stage that you're at, helps us evaluate.
I think this is a very, very broad topic. There is a lot that we can actually share on the topic. There are whole academies which are based around, how to grow a startup. By definition, a startup is a scalable kind of company. It's not just a company that has been founded 2 years ago or 1 year ago. I think we need to be clear on that. But I think this question also brings us very naturally to the networking, because, as I mentioned, I think there are many aspects that we can still discuss. I'm sure that there will be also many aspects that we can still discuss on the ways to invest in startups, either through SeedBlink, but also through HR Capital, and maybe for the most successful of you through 11. Why not? Thank you all for having the patience to come to us to the end. For all those of you who stayed till now, we have prepared nice catering with some beer, with some water. Stay around, we can network, we can connect, and I wish you a nice time.